So it didn't take long for the MAGA white nationalists to blame black people. Whenever they have a chance, they'll blame black people, gay people, women. So the folks on the ground, the white men, are blaming a black fire chief for the disaster and the deaths in Texas.
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here, kindly consider subscribing. Here we talk fact, reality, and we never back down from the truth. So I came across a TikTok video from a user named Petty Crocker, and I honestly had to respond because I could not believe someone could be this confident and still this wrong. She actually blamed black people for the Texas flood. Not the broken infrastructures, not the weak climate planning, not the bad state policy. Nope, she said it's black people. That's not just ignorance, that's a pattern we've seen for years.
For all you sick, spineless little puppets, I don't give a rat's hind end who you are or what little cause you're out here supporting. But if you're out here saying that these families in Texas deserve that flash flood, that they deserve to lose their homes, their children, their lives, you are the disease to our country right now. You are the cancer that we need to cut out. You sit online flapping your daggum gums, talking about empathy, compassion, and humanity. But it only applies when people vote like you, talk like you, and bow to your side of the aisle. You don't give a damn about humanity. All you care about is control. You care about your narratives. You care about pushing your hate disguised as fake morality. Meanwhile, people, everyday Americans, red or blue, does not matter. These people lost everything. Those waters rose 26 feet in 45 minutes. Nobody had time to warn anyone. These babies were swept out of their parents' arms. Homes completely washed off the map. And your response is to laugh at them? To mock them? To say that these people deserve what they got because they lived in a red state? You're not enlightened. You're not righteous. You are sick. You are disgusting. You are vile. But I'll tell you one thing you did accomplish. You pissed off the wrong damn patriots. Because every time your bitter, hateful little mouth runs, we're only going to get louder and we're only going to get stronger. And just like when Hurricane Helene hit western North Carolina and East Tennessee, we didn't stop and ask everybody who they freaking voted for. We just helped. Because that's what real Americans do. We rise up for our people and we fight for our freaking neighbors. We show the hell up in the middle of a devastation because that's the right damn thing to do. So no, I'm not going to back down, and I sure the hell am not going to shut up. I'm not going to soften my message to spare your little feelings. I will be on this app every single freaking day until these people in Texas rise up out of this devastation, just like we did for our people over in the mountains of North Carolina and the valleys of East Tennessee. Because we don't need to check your political stance before we lend you a hand. That's what makes us better. That's what makes us American. So keep talking and keep spewing your vile. But I want you to understand something real quick. You're not silencing us. You're only adding fuel to our fires. And we're just getting started.
So an all-white fire chief association is blaming a black fire chief for the floods that happened in Texas. An all-white people are blaming a black fire chief for the floods in Texas. You're blaming the wrong color. The color you should be blaming is orange. And he's in the White House. All the blame should go to him. All of it. The nerve to blame anybody black. You had a chance to blame it on a black person, but you voted for someone who was orange when you could have voted for someone who was black. Y'all said no. 77 million of you, plus the ones who didn't vote, plus the ones who voted third party. You could have blamed it on someone black, but you didn't. So blame it on someone orange. Blaming this on a black fire chief is insane work, nefarious work, nasty, nasty work.
Y'all not gonna believe what I'm about to tell y'all. If they started blaming the Texas flood on black people, look at this.
What you are not being told by the media anyway is that the death toll likely would not have been as high if it wasn't for DEI. This Texas tragedy is just the latest example.
Of all the MAGA people out here, Charlie Kirk is probably the dumbest. And this dude keeps on bragging about not going to college. You should have gone to college. You should have, because you are dumb as a motherfucker. Blaming a natural disaster on black people is wild. That's God's work. God is doing that. Does that mean that Charlie Kirk believes that God is a person of color? Because you're blaming a natural disaster on black people. Does that mean that you believe that God is a person of color?
Charlie Kirk, you should be absolutely ashamed of yourself for claiming that Fire Chief Joel G. Baker's response to the Kerr flood in Texas was caused by a DEI hire just because the chief is black. You are so blatantly racist, it's sickening. Let me break down the level of knowledge and experience that Fire Chief Baker has. Okay? Buckle up because it's long. He has a Bachelor of Science in Human Resources Development from Georgia State University, a Master's in Public Administrations, specifically Justice Admin from Columbus State University. He served in the Marine Corps for 3 years and received an honorable discharge. He served in the United States Navy Reserve for 11 years, earning the 1999 Sailor of the Year. He was a firefighter for 8 years before being promoted to fire lieutenant for another 8 years, before being promoted to fire captain special operation unit for 2 years. He then went on to become assistant chief for a year before becoming section chief for a year, before becoming interim fire chief for a year. He then became deputy fire chief. Chief of Staff for 2 years, Deputy Fire Chief Airport Operations for 2 years, Interim Fire Chief for a little less than a year before finally becoming Fire Chief since June of 2015. He is experienced in all phases of fire services and emergency management, firefighting operations, emergency medical services, hazardous materials, technical rescue, recruiting, EEOC and internal affairs, research and development, performance, evaluation and administration, homeland security, emergency preparedness, strategic planning, and budgeting and training. Beyond his on-the-job experience and education, he has a litany of certifications, continuing education, awards, presentations, and publications. So tell me again how he's unqualified or even considered a DEI hire? Get out of here with that. You're full of it.
He is absolutely the biggest hypocrite on the planet. And here's what I have to say about all this. His government is now politicizing this tragedy to run more bad legislation through Texas. Gerrymandering. That's what he's using this tragedy for. And I look at this tragedy and I think, will this wake people up to the fact that the government needs to be run like a protection for agency for their citizens? Or are they going to continue down this road? And then, like you said, I look at the gun violence situation. I don't think they're going to take any lessons from this. But make no mistake, the reason we are in this predicament is because of Donald Trump and his incompetent and corrupt administration who doesn't give a shit about the citizens, nor does Greg Abbott.
And then days after talking about who God blesses, you might remember Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz's epic faceplant on a very friendly podcasting atmosphere. Tucker Carlson put this post up. Ted Cruz, in his evangelical preacher voice says, God will bless those who bless Israel. 2 weeks later, this happens in his home state while Ted Cruz is on vacation in Greece. And I just want to remind everybody that everybody hates Ted Cruz. And when he was in Cancun during the power outages, his neighbors were sending copies of text messages to the press about how much they all hated him. And so this is the danger of having these MAGA Christian politicians. Governor Abbott said stuff like, there's no question that the prayers halted the flooding, so it wasn't even worse. Ted Cruz is saying, if you bless Israel, God will bless you. I mean, this is just Iron Age, crazy ass thinking, but it hits hard in the MAGA base. All of this MAGA Christian shit hits so hard with them. And it's just, we live in the modern era and you have people clinging on to this Iron Age religion. But Ted Cruz is so culpable in all of this because he is a MAGA Christian. He is a corporatist to his core. He is a terrible husband. I mean, that's just an aside, but I mean, Donald Trump called his wife ugly, and he, stands up at the Republican National Convention. God bless Donald Trump. And I guess this hits hard MAGA, all of this hypocrisy and just like blind loyalty, like blind loyalty to Israel, blind loyalty to your religion, blind loyalty to Trump. I guess it hits hard, but the rest of the nation, we're not fucking stupid. It's simple. We live in Oklahoma where we have tornadoes all the time, and emergency services, meteorologists funded to know where the storms are coming from when they're developing. You can wake up at 8 a.m. and the meteorologist can say, we're looking like around 3 o'clock today, the conditions are going to be perfect for massive tornadoes. So then okay, I'm going to be weather aware all day. They would have known that we have a buildup of potential flooding here and could have evacuated all of the Guadalupe River to the people, especially in these camps, to get these people in higher grounds. But they don't do it. And why don't they do it? Here's one final headline. Ted Cruz ensured Trump's spending bill slashed weather forecasting funding. Senator on vacation abroad while Texas was hit by deadly floods, a disaster worsened by forecasting cuts. So here's what I have to say to MAGA Republicans. I don't know. I would think if you value life, that we shouldn't defund these types of services. Or is it just suck up to billionaires and suck up to Donald Trump and make sure we subsidize Jeff Bezos so that he doesn't have to pay taxes, even though he uses the roads with all of his Amazon delivery trucks a lot more than we do. Suck up to Israel because they support Ted Cruz and other politicians. And somehow we're going to get this imaginary blessing from God because we sucked up to Israel. I mean, are people this fucking stupid in this country is what I'm asking. Are we really this fucking dumb that we have to sit here and have a conversation about something that was preventable? I mean, we're the richest country in the world and we're cutting weather services, and little kids going to summer camp are dying. I mean, is this fucking real? And in Trump's America, it is. And you have dipshits like Ted Cruz. God bless Donald Trump. God bless Israel. We're all going to get blessings. Well, you know what? I bet there's a bunch of fucking parents waking up this morning that've done everything right. They voted, they prayed, they paid their taxes, and they still get dicked over by these lying ass politicians. It makes me fucking sick.
It's so gross. And I think the answer to your question is yes, we are that dumb, because here's a fundamental thing that we always have to remember. Christianity is patriarchal. So all these white men, and you can't be black, you can't be Hispanic, you have to be white in their eyes, even though Jesus was brown. But you have to be white and you have to be a man. So everybody else is secondary, and they're primed to believe all of this shit because it is frowned upon to have critical thinking. It is frowned upon to take care of the poor, because despite what they say the Bible teaches, they're used to their pastors grifting. So Donald Trump is the perfect vessel for all of that. So the reason we're in this awful predicament that we are is because these evangelical Christians have been primed by their religion to believe bullshit and that white men can solve all our problems.
And I guess Pump's, you're exactly right, because that's why at the top of the story, the Turning Point guy, Charlie Kirk, says he has to blame the black person. A bunch of white people died. So who can we blame? It can't be the white Christians. It's got to be the DEI person. And I just hope that everybody is so fucking tired of this political party's excuses for their breathtaking incompetence. Okay, that's all we have right now. We'll see.
What you are not being told by the media anywhere is that the death toll likely would not have been as high if it wasn't for DEI.
There's Charlie Kirk making yet another one of his patented despicable arguments. This time it's that the death toll in Central Texas would be lower from that flooding on July 4th if the fire chief in Austin wasn't black. Yeah, you heard him. He blames it all on DEI, but he never really makes that argument. Instead, it's about the race of the fire chief. And normally, I don't like to give oxygen to these kinds of trashy arguments, but I also think you've got to stand up and call out blatant racism when you see it. And to me, this is a perfect example. So Charlie's entire premise rests on the idea that this fire chief, who's been in office since 2018, didn't deploy enough resources ahead of time to allow Austin firefighters to go be part of the search and rescue efforts outside Kerrville. Now, there are some complicated issues going on here with reimbursements from the state for those kinds of deployments, and also not knowing if they needed to keep those firefighters back in case the storm continued to cause issues in Austin. But it is worth noting that the city of Austin's mayor said he talked to state officials who told him that Austin went above and beyond with the resources it provided. Ultimately, though, I don't know all the ins and outs of this argument. I'm not intimately affiliated with what's going on with the Austin Fire Department, and I can guarantee you Charlie Kirk isn't either. Now, notice there was no mention from Charlie on warning sirens or whether state or local officials did their job there. Instead, he sees a black fire chief, and all of a sudden it is DEI rearing its ugly head, according to Charlie. No mention of that fire chief's 30 years of service in Atlanta, where he was chief of Atlanta Fire Rescue, or his master's degree, or that he graduated from Harvard's state and local government program. Instead, Charlie makes the assertion that some of those poor girls at Camp Mystic would still be alive today if only, say, the Austin fire chief weren't black. Absolutely despicable. Maybe you saw Texas Governor Abbott talk about the people who are trying to point fingers right now, trying to assign blame during this tragedy at the moment. And he got in hot water for calling those people losers. But maybe when it comes to Charlie Kirk, he was right.
Do y'all remember a couple of days ago where I told you the story about what was going on with Chief Joel Baker, who is the fire chief for Austin, Texas, and how he was being blamed for the Kerr County flood because he didn't send some reinforcements or didn't send any people in to help? Mind you, Austin is 2 hours from Kerr County, but instead of blaming the people who are actually at fault, they just found a random black man to blame. A black man in power, of course. As of July 11th, the Austin Fire Department did do a vote of no confidence for Chief Baker. Chief Baker does still have his job. However, the mayor can fire him at any time. If he was to be fired, it would be by the mayor. Kirk Watson is the mayor of Austin. And it's been reported that Mayor Watson does support Chief Baker. Now, let me reiterate. Austin is 2 hours away from Kerr County. However, there was someone there in leadership who could have done something, whose job was to do something, and they chose not to do it because this happened.
I actually think I have my weather report stuff turned off, if I'm being honest.
I mean, you're the city manager.
No.
Why would you have your weather alerts turned off?
Because one, with my family, with first responders, and again, I'm in it every single day. My phone stays on 24 hours, 7 days a week. We're in constant communication with emergency responders.
Saying he has dedicated teams in place to handle weather updates.
So whether my stuff is on or not is really a moot point because we have teams of experts that can navigate these.
City leaders say they have yet to review the response.
The Kerr County manager, quote unquote city manager, another name for that is mayor, chose to not do anything and is on the record, NBC News, saying that he ain't do anything. He turned his phone off and had the attitude of, somebody else will do it. Get somebody else to do it. And you're the city manager / mayor? So someone please explain to me like I'm 5 how someone who is 2 hours away is being blamed for not sending help when the person who could have got the help was right there and chose not to. Explain it to me. Quickly. I'll wait.
Real quick trigger warning, because I'm triggered, so I'm probably going to pull some triggers. But I'm a sucker for difficult conversations, and today I'm speaking directly to MAGA. I don't care what y'all say in these comments. I see you guys talking about the tragic flooding happening in the state of Texas, and I'm here to remind you, it's not just Texas. It's the tornadoes in Oklahoma and Missouri. It's the rapidly approaching hurricane season for the state of Florida. It's Asheville being left in ruins because Biden gave them FEMA relief that Trump took away. And every time I remind you guys, this is what you voted for. You want to cry. Now's not the time to talk politics. Now is exactly the time to talk politics. Because you thought your political allegiances were going to own the libtards. You just handed us an I told you so movement. Oh, but the children, there's children. The children are suffering. Think of the children because they didn't vote, but you did. You're the same people who voted to defund every child in America's education. You're the same people who voted to rip children out of the arms of their parents and be sent to concentration camps. You're the same people who bullied an 11-year-old girl by threatening to call ICE on her parents until she committed suicide. Clutching to your Second Amendment right so you can overthrow an oppressive regime while installing one, and laughing at the libtards because we begged you to think of our innocent children being shot and murdered in school, at the mall, at parades. You're the same people who sent $675,000 to Shiloh Hendrix's GoFundMe because she called a 5-year-old child, the N-word. The same people who voted to take away food and health care from the poor children in your communities. You voted away the National Weather Association and FEMA that could have prevented the casualties and compensated the loss of property. And you want to say, now's not the time to talk politics. Let's think of the children. I will not think of your children. Because when you thought of mine, you actively wished evil upon them. And I don't wish evil upon children, but I damn sure won't send help to yours when you laughed at mine for being shot at school. Or other children for losing food, or their parents, or you rejoiced at the idea of a child escaping a concentration camp to be eaten by a fucking alligator. A lot of y'all expect me to give a fuck about kids that you don't. No. If you're not thinking of how your vote affects the safety and future of your children, I'm not thinking about it. I'm trying to fix the world you ruined to save my fucking children. I expect to see every able-bodied Trump supporter out there doing search and rescue for every natural disaster that hits, sending all of their Social Security and temporary assistance for needy families to the GoFundMe to pay for funeral and home repair. That is on y'all. It's not on us. I'm not even going to send a thought or a prayer because I will not actively interrupt the wrath of God to stop your karma. He is in real time showing you that he don't fuck with y'all for using his name in vain. This isn't just what you voted for. It is undoubtedly what you deserve. You should be so thankful that you're paying for the disgusting sins of blasphemy in this life and not the fucking next, because that one is eternal.
Just so I'm clear, they're blaming the black fire chief in Austin hours away instead of the local officials who rejected funding in order to have a warning system, as well as ignoring the fact that Kristi Noem waited 72 hours to approve FEMA support. Is that right? They're just always gonna find a black person to blame? Is that it?
Hey family, so now we are told that the flood in Texas was caused by black and brown people trying to get rid of the white race. Yes, you heard that. I cannot make this stuff up. Many of the MAGA nuts, especially some of the white evangelical nationalists, believe in a conspiracy theory that we, black and brown people, somehow, along with the Jews, have manipulated the weather system. Yes, I'm not lying to you. And caused the flooding in the predominantly white area so that we can kill off white folk and then we can just have life without white folk. Here's the thing, white people, especially you racist white folk. If black and brown people wanted to get rid of you, don't you think we would have? But the truth of the matter is we don't care enough about you to even think about getting rid of you. Because we know, those of you who are filled with hatred, vitriol, racism, prejudice, bigotry, xenophobia, homophobia, and all the other phobias, that God, the same God that you think you're serving, God has the final say, and he's going to deal with you on Judgment Day. So we don't have to be your judge and juror. See, the problem is you think that the same hatred you have in your heart towards people of color reciprocates within the hearts of black people. And I keep telling you all, we don't have the same heart. We don't operate like that. So give yourself a break, okay? Calm your little petty behinds down, okay? Because the last thing we are thinking about is you racist, ignorant, MAGA nuts, okay? We're too busy getting highly educated, very wealthy, and very, very attractive. Idiots.
Did y'all hear about that black woman who evacuated and literally saved her and her entire family from being caught up in that Texas flood? Despite there being no alerts, being no warnings, she noticed that that fucking river was rising and she said, "We gonna get the fuck up out of here." Her name is Lucretia Bates, right? Her and her family, they were camping literally just 1 mile from the devastation that took place in Guadalupe River. And she noticed that the river was actually starting to rise. And she said, "Yo, bae, look at this." He said, all right, they got the kids together. She saw that people were still trying to go tubing and do all of these water activities despite seeing that it was rising. And she honestly couldn't believe it, but she said, me and my family, we about to get the fuck on, right? So they go to the place, because I guess, it's like a check-in spot, whatever. And they tell, front desk, listen, we're checking out. They were supposed to stay an extra night. And she tells them, listen, we're checking out. Her husband tells them, we're checking out. And they're like, really? Why? Kinda. And she's like, yeah, no, we're just gonna head out. And then they have the nerve to lean into her husband and tell him, listen, we're actually thinking of evacuating. We're thinking of evacuating. Sis said thinking. You're thinking? Fuck is you thinking for? You need to get these people out of here. Sis ain't waste no time. She said, y'all could think all y'all want to. I'm going to get the fuck on. Me and mines, we're going to be good. And that's in fact what happened. It was because of that fast thinking, her actually listening to her intuition, her and her family is safe. Listen, we are talking about a woman, so that's woman's intuition, a black woman, so that's black women intuition, and a mother. That's three different type of intuitions right there. She was not staying. With a name like Lucretia, she definitely used her black card. Who the fuck is fighting with nature? Who is fighting with nature? I gotta go. I gotta fucking go. And definitely still a deep and genuine condolences to all of the lives lost, all of the families who are impacted by this flood. Honestly, I really do wish the best for you all. But Lucretia made sure she Still, I want to issue my deepest and sincerest condolences to all of the lives lost, all of the families that are impacted by the floods. Honest to God, it truly is a devastating time for the people in Texas, and I really do hope that they pull through.
Blaming black people has been America's go-to move for centuries. Whenever the system fails or disaster hits, somehow the blame gets pushed onto the very people who have suffered the most. So Petty Crocker, listen, black people built this country. During slavery, they planted the cotton, sugar, and rice that made America wealthy. They were abused and mistreated, yet still fought in every major war, starting with Crispus attack, the first to die in the American Revolution. Black inventors shaped everyday life too. Traffic lights, home security system, blood bags, yet they rarely get credit. And after all their contribution, they still faced Jim Crow, segregation, lynching, and today deal with the mass incarceration and police brutality. So no, black people aren't failing Texas. The real problem is a broken system, poor planning, bad infrastructure, and no preparation for climate change. Flooding is a science issue, not a race issue. Blaming black people isn't reality. It's racism. Black people are not the cause of Texas flooding. They are one of the reasons America works at all. We educate over here, we expose over here, and we don't stay silent when things go wrong.